greater level, like, why would anything exist? Like, all true claims are necessarily in reference to God, you know?
Okay, but
So,
now we're back. But again, now we're back to the conceptual reality. We're not talking about like, you know, we're not talking about reality. We're just talking this linguistic, philosophical thing. Like, you're basically saying like, oh, it's good because you can do more stuff in it. Like, I'm saying what real world?
I'm saying that it's good because you can account for it. Right, so like, how do you know that you're not the Christian God in your worldview? Can you account for that truth?
Right. How do I know? Okay, how do I know that I'm not that I personally am not the Christian God?
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, I don't know, but there's a lot of things that I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know
well,
that.
you do know you're not the Christian God, because in order to be the Christian God, you'd have to possess certain traits which you don't have.
I don't know what the Christian God's traits are exactly.
Well, he is all powerful and omniscient.
Right.
So you'd know everything I was going to say
Yeah,
before I said it.
Yeah, but if it was all powerful and omniscient, then I could just be like, you know.
But you're not. Like,
Yeah,
do you know
but
the
I still
exact
could.
distance to the moon in centimeters?
No, but I could limit myself, couldn't I? I could put myself into this vessel, right?
Okay, so you're saying that you basically, put yourself into the world in a limited form.
I said that's a possibility. I'm not saying that's what I mean.
Okay, so then how would you be able to account for the fact that you're not the creator God in its original form?
How would I be able to account for that? This is the thing. I might not know. You know what I mean? Like, I could have given myself amnesia.
Well, you can account for that because, like, obviously, the thing that is the creator God is in a particular form, and in the form that you're currently, you couldn't have created the world. So you're not in the form of that God, and that God's unchanging. So you couldn't be that God.
But he's also powerful, so he can change.
No, he doesn't contradict himself. If he contradicted himself, then it'd be like Descartes' demon. It'd be another logical issue that you can't account for, and you wouldn't be able to justify anything within a system.
How do you know he doesn't contradict himself? I don't get it.
If you had a God, if the thing that's ultimate that dictates the truth value of claims is self-contradictory, then any rule that you perceive in the world would potentially just be a false. It could be like a mirage,
again, this is just philosophy. This doesn't map onto reality directly.
Well, it does. That's why they talk about these ideas. Like, Descartes' demon isn't something that I'm making up now. It's not. I'm not bringing it up in a way that doesn't map onto reality. Like, if Descartes' demon exists, then you can't know anything in a credible way. There's no way to justify anything. And that because of that, through a reductio ad absurdum argument, you can discount that worldview because of the impossibility of the contrary. There's no way that you could justify anything in a world where there was a deceiver God that was influencing you. So
that you don't have, that you actually have the knowledge that you couldn't have in a demon world. It's just begging the question, dude.
What do you mean? So you can't, in a world where a demon is potentially subverting your ability to reason to conclusions in any rational way, how would you know anything?
I'm saying that world can exist, but you're begging the question. You're saying that we have
that's the point of the reductio ad absurdum.
Yeah, so there's no reductio here, right? So you're just begging the question.
No, there is actually.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that you're begging the question. You're saying that we have that standard level of knowledge that the skeptic demands, like certainty, right? You're just saying that we have that, but
yeah,
that's probably not the case, right?
Like, you exist in some form. There's no way that you could be wrong about that. You will have certainty, and the fact that you have certainty means that there must be a standard and some kind of ultimate authority. The fact that you know something in a way that you couldn't be wrong, yes,
the way that you can say that. The way
Okay, let me explain this, right? So, in order to know something, do you accept this? In order to know something, you have to have a system by which you're evaluating things.
Yeah, I don't know what that has
Yeah.
to do with what you just said, but I'm trying to
You
address,
don't
like, three
agree
of the
that,
things
you
you
know,
said, and you're
let's just say it
over-talking me.
again because I didn't get your answer clearly. Do you think that in order to evaluate things, you need a system by which you evaluate them?
Yeah, I agree with that, like I said, but you're now like 3 statements ahead that I haven't been able to address because you keep over-talking, right? And I'm
think-
I'm
starting
not
to
doing
forget the
anything
things that you
wrong. I'm
said.
trying to respond to the point you're making. I've not done anything bad to you. I'm giving you a fair chance.
System
No,
doesn't need
I'm trying to respond to what you
action.
said. Like, listen, I take like the transcendental reasoning that allows you to say that you know for certain that you are something. Some people object to that, like the people that follow Barry Stroud, right? But I take that transcendental reasoning to be true. All I'm saying is that when you were arguing that the impossibility of the contrary obtains because of the possibility of not knowing things to the level of knowledge that you say that we have, is going to be begging the question because you're saying that we have that type of knowledge where we can be certain of things, right? Just because you can say that you can be certain of some things, right, by way of transcendental reasoning, doesn't mean that you can just say that all knowledge is going to meet that level of certainty. It's just
I'm not
absurd.
saying that. What I'm saying is that the fact that we can be certain of some things and we can account for all the variables in certain situations means that there must be a standard and there must be an authority. The fact that there is a truth that's dictated in a particular way, right, means that there must be some kind of standard and an authority that dictates the standard.
So if
There
you
has
mean
to
by
be
standard,
that,
you mean
otherwise
like
it's
some
not
kind of,
true.
No,
if by
I think
standard you just mean, I'm sorry, let me just say one more thing. If you mean by standard that you mean that the reality is the way that it is, yeah, I agree, but I don't know what you mean by authority. That seems like you're just going down a precept route saying there needs to be some kind of intentional state for you to allow you to
Okay.
glean truth from the world, right? And you already kind of talked about it. You already just said that there has to be some kind of reliable mechanism, which is just going to be a form of externalist reliabilism, which is what a precept is.
Look,
But the
I'm not
answer,
saying, like, I do think it has to be the Christian God, and there's a whole number of reasons for that. But
yeah,
I'm
that's the
trying to
argument I'm just trying to
help
ask for,
people
right?
in a lot of ways because they're not doing that. Like, there may be, which I don't think there is actually, there may be a way that an atheist could sort of construct a world where they can account for the fact that they can perceive the world. They know that they're not
Okay.
influenced by Descartes' demon. And now, actually, let me address that because you were saying that you didn't get the chance to address loads of things that I said. But on the Descartes' demon front, if you accept a world where it's possible that you're deceived by Descartes' demon, then you just can't know anything, right? You can't
Yeah, so
account
that's the problem here. I
for
understand. So
anything. You can't account for the law of identity because you could always be being deceived. Now, the fact that you live in a world where there are things on which you can't be deceived, like the fact that you exist in some form, means that there has to be a standard and there has to be an authority. There's no other option.
I guess I'll just respond to that real quick, but somebody else wanted to jump in. I don't want to take up the space. So that's the thing that I'm trying to get at here. There's nothing about knowledge if you take the JTB theory that requires certainty. And there's nothing about,
You
I
just
agree with
don't
you
know
that
it.
there, I'm sorry?
If you take a position where you don't think
So
that you have
where
to
in
account
JTB
for
does
any
it specify and
justification
stipulate
or
certainty?
the truth
Where in
value
J-
of a claim to know that it's true, right? Then you're not going to be able to justify
yeah,
anything.
I think
Like
you're a little bit confused here. I mean,
when
have you read
somebody
anything
says
in
something to
epistemology over
you,
the past 20 years?
when somebody says to you something like, "I know I exist," right? They're not working from some perspective where they could be wrong, right? Redefining words like "know" to mean "don't know" and like knowledge, essentially truth, something that you know to be true, is just actually a belief.
Well,
Right?
let's just talk about this real
Redefining
quick.
those words in that way doesn't make you
Yeah,
right.
I
It
understand what
just
you're
means
saying.
you're a sophist.
I understand what you're saying, but you're just not like tracking. Listen, so like, do
Yeah,
you
I
take the
am
JTB?
tracking, and I responded to what you
Okay,
were
well,
saying.
you're
I'm going
just
to
over
let you
talking,
make
all right?
one more point, and if you keep
Yeah.
making weird,
So
snarky
do
comments, then I'll
you?
take your name down.
Yeah, that's fine. So like, do you take JTB to be true? Is that like a good like? I know
I
it's not
think
like
that
an all in.
justified true belief, in order for it to be a JTB, then there has to be a truth element that you can account for through the justificatory path. Okay?
Right. So then,
If you can't account for the
Come on, dude.
necessity of the
You just
truth
keep
within
steamrolling.
the justificatory path, then you don't know.
Great. So where in JTB does it stipulate certainty?
It stipulates it in the truth aspect.
Right. So if I all right, say I'm a schizophrenic and I'm in a room with no windows, and I say it's raining outside, right? But I don't have any real
You can't account for the
path.
truth of that, can you?
Well, listen. I say it's raining outside, right? But I don't have a window to look outside, so I can't really know because I don't have a true justificatory mechanism.
So you don't know then.
Well,
Instead of saying that you know, you should just say, I don't know.
Listen, right? But I'm a schizophrenic and I don't have a window, and I say that it's raining, but it happens to actually be raining. You would say that I have a true belief, right?
It's not because you've got a good justification.
I just told you I just didn't have a good justification. You're not listening to me.
Like providing a Gettier case, right? Saying, oh yeah, there's this Gettier case.
You're not. I just told you I didn't
that doesn't mean that you've used the correct system of justification to get to the truth value, or whether the justificatory.
Dude, you keep telling me I'm not using
I'm trying
a good
to
system
finish,
of justification when I told you I didn't have a justification. You interrupted me 3 times during that.
Dude, you made your point.
No, you don't understand my point.
Okay, make it again then, bro, and I'll respond to it the second time.
All right, great. So that schizophrenic has a true belief, but they're not justified, so it doesn't count as knowledge. Now, if the schizophrenic wasn't schizophrenic and had a window, right, they relied on their senses, right? They had a justificatory path because it coheres with all their previous beliefs, right? Their background beliefs coheres with the things that are in front of them, right? You're going to say that they are justified, right? And then because they have this justification,
there's
right,
strong
this justificatory mechanism,
justification,
then they will have knowledge, right? It may be the case that they're wrong and their mechanism doesn't work, but then it wouldn't be knowledge. But it doesn't need to be the case that they know that they know. What you are doing is applying the KK.
I'm not saying that you have to know that you know. I'm saying that in order to be justified in a belief, then it has to. In order to be justified in knowledge, then it has to be
you're
true.
Talking about the KK principle, which no epistemologist, some do. But
I'm not saying you have to know that you know. I'm saying in order to know.
You are.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that you know, right? That's a separate question, whether you know that you know something. I'm saying that in order to know something, you have to be able to account for the truth value of the claim.
Right, that's what the justification is.
And if you can't...
Are you kidding me?
If you can't account for the truth value of the claim, then you don't know it. You just either believe it or you think it.
That's what justification is. So in virtue of what is a justificatory mechanism, like unsound or invalid, without certainty? That's my question.
Okay, so if I said... So my friend Bob, he told me that 1 + 3 = 2, right? And the reason that he said that is because he's got a better understanding of mathematics than me, right? So I'm justified in my knowledge, according to your understanding of the world, that 1 + 3 = 2, because Bob told me.
Right. So
do you think that that's a good read? Do you think that that's knowledge then?
No.
Or do you think
it's not, because that justification, right, that
based
mechanism is bad, right? It doesn't track with reality. That would just be not having knowledge.
Okay,
right?
Great. So when you do it, it's the same thing, bro.
1 + 3 can equal to, like, if you talk about 1 unit of cold plus 3 units of hot equals 2 units of hot.
Yeah, so my point here is that you don't need to be certain about your method, right, to have knowledge. Okay, that's my claim here, and you haven't really
demonstrated that I'm wrong. Knowledge. You just believe stuff. You don't know it.
So, okay, so there we go again. So your definition of knowledge does require certainty. Is that correct?
It requires truth.
Of course, it requires truth, but we already established that schizophrenic.
It requires the truth value of the claim being in the affirmative. That requires.
Dude, you're contradicting yourself now. We already agreed that the schizophrenic can have a true belief without a justification, right?
Dude, stop. Where did I contradict myself?
Truth, facts, and knowledge.
Where did I contradict myself?
You're confusing. Because you agreed.
I'm just going to mute you if you don't tell me where I contradicted myself.
I'm trying to tell you because you agreed, right, that a schizophrenic can have a true belief. Is that correct or not? Am I mistaken?
I said that just because a schizophrenic person can have some true beliefs about things. Well, I asked you a question
and you're dodging.
Exist.
Did you agree with that?
I'm trying to answer you. You're being difficult.
Just say yes and then answer. Yes.
Why? Why aren't I allowed to elaborate?
Well, I'm allowing you to speak. Just answer the question first and then speak.
I'm answering the question. You just don't like the answer.
I want to kind of hear you elaborate a little bit.
This guy's a troll. You know, he's a complete moron.
Yeah, to be honest, it's sort of frustrating. So this is the thing.
or no,
Stop
and then
interrupting me, or I'll
fine.
mute you. This is your last chance. You keep over talking. Okay. So this is it, right? He's saying that I'm saying that you have to know that you know something in order to know it, which isn't what I was saying. I was saying in order to be justified in knowledge, then you have to account for the truth value of the statement. That isn't the same thing. And this guy can't account for the truth value of any statement external to his mind, right? And that's why he's getting upset and he's trying to redefine knowledge as belief.
Wait, isn't
Confusion seemed to me, his confusion seemed to be like, I see a desk in front of me right now. Somebody might have dosed me with LSD a few minutes ago. It might be that the desk isn't really here, and yet how can I know truth about whether the desk is here or not? Like, in order, it seems to be.
So,
You're
I mean, I
claiming
don't
I
know if
need
you've
to
ever
have a
been
certainty.
dosed with this. Go on.
I need to have a certain method of discerning the truth of whether the desk is there or not.
you can touch
Yeah,
it?
so in a situation where you want to account for the truth value for it, so if you want to know something, then you have to account for the truth value of it. Now, if you can't rule out the possibility that you've been dosed with LSD, which I'm sure you'd be aware of if you got dosed with it, right, so you have to take that into account. I don't know what you guys think about hallucinogenic drugs, but they don't take you, although they can make people have weird visions in a way and have weird feelings as well.
I mean, I'm
They
pretty sure.
don't actually completely separate you from reality. Like,
Yeah, I'm
you
pretty
know
sure that
maybe that someone
thing I
came
fucking
into your
said-
house.
But that's just to say you need certainty.
He's
for
right.
knowledge
He's
again.
right. He's
if
totally
you
right.
couldn't account for that, then maybe you wouldn't be able to say that you knew that nobody had been in your house.
Listen, so you're saying that
Or
you need to
if
account
you
for the
had
truth.
set
Okay.
up a number of things, so the next day when you wake up, instead of your door just being locked, your door's locked and it's barricaded, right? And nothing's been tampered with. Well, obviously, you know, no one's come through the door. That's the only point of entry. Now, is there any other way that anybody could have got in and affected you? No. So then you could maybe know that you hadn't been but raped in the night.
Right. So,
You know?
like
You can always
you said,
invent.
Yeah,
You
but
can always invent a method by which.
You base that on something different. You base that on the fact that you have a continuity of self and awareness.
so you said that you
Well,
need
then
to
you've got to
justify
account for
your
that
truth.
within a system as well, you know?
So you said that you need to account for the truth values of things, right? I think
Yeah,
that
in
just
order
to
for
be your
to know something, then it has to be true. Okay?
Exactly, right. So it needs to be true, right? And you need to have some kind of reliable justificatory process, right? And then you need to have belief states. Is that correct?
You have to have belief states, and you need to
Right.
have a system by which you can evaluate the truth value of the proposition.
Right. So you have to evaluate the truth value. So what is JTB is the thing that evaluates the truth value?
Well, how could you account for the truth value of the claim?
Right. That's going to be your justificatory
Yeah, you're going to
mechanism. We're
use
just
a
their
system of
epistemology.
you're
Right.
going to use a system through which you account for all the variables necessary within that
Right.
particular
Great. Great.
proposition.
So in virtue of what do you need to be certain that your justificatory mechanism tracks the reality? To
It
have
depends
knowledge?
on what the question is.
I just asked you. The question is, in virtue of what do you need to know with certainty that your justificatory mechanism tracks with reality to have knowledge? That's my question.
When did we mention certainty? Like Foxy was talking about, like you're going to have to ultimately account and give a metaphysical account for truth simpliciter, which you guys haven't ever
A
done.
metaphysical account. Well, that would just be depending on your theory of truth. Like you could take a coherence theory, right?
No, like
So,
what is the actual state of affairs, and how do you know it?
oh, so you're talking about like what actually is out there. How does that what does that have to do with your epistemology?
Like,
Well,
you could be a
because your
brain in a vat.
epistemology.
Yeah, if you could be a brain in a vat, and then you're going to talk about truth, I just can't take you seriously.
Well, if you're a brain in a vat and your justificatory mechanism gives you the knowledge or the belief state that you're not in a brain in a vat, then that mechanism is wrong, right? So it's just going to be the case. It's just going to be the case that it doesn't matter the way that the world is out there as long as your epistemology is able to track it. So it may be a glob world, it may be a God world, maybe an atheistic world, maybe a brain in a vat world. But the way that we're going to evaluate whether or not epistemology tracks truth is if it tracks truth under the correspondence theory. So I'll ask you like a fifth time. In virtue of what do you need to know that your mechanism tracks with reality to obtain knowledge? And that'll be the last time I asked that question.
I didn't know what that question was really. I did listen to it, but it's formulated in a way where I didn't understand it, honestly.
Yeah,
so
you seem to think that you need to know that your justification mechanism tracks reality with certain... Okay, I'll just back out of this then.
Oh, I guess you're gone. I guess you don't want to let me finish.
Yeah, I mean, this is the precept question that nobody... this is the question that precepts can't answer.
I'm willing to try and answer it, but you're not asking it in a way that I can understand, and then...
Okay,
when I'm just trying to say that, you're then over talking me and saying that you no longer want to engage.
Yeah, because I've asked it like many different times, different ways through this conversation, right? I'm asking you, in virtue of what does knowledge require that you know for certain that your justificatory mechanism, especially on like a reliabilist, externalist epistemology, tracks with reality?
So how do I know? Through my reliability, because it comports to the Christian worldview.
No. I'm not asking you about your worldview. I'm asking you in virtue of what, in principle, do you need to know that your reliabilist mechanism tracks with reality to have knowledge?
Honestly, you're going to have to say it in words.
All right, I'm sorry. I actually have to go. I don't know how to answer the question in a different way.
Have a nice day. If you want to reword it and come back like a more simple like wording of that question, then we'll answer it really easily. But obviously, nobody knows what you mean. Well, maybe somebody else does, and they can translate.
I feel like I kind of tracked what he was saying, but
okay, can you translate for us?
Maybe I could. He's just basically asking why do you have to know how you know what you know?
I never said that. Okay, thank you.
No, that's what he was saying. That's what I think he was asking.